Good evening. My name is Allison Hudson, and I'm the Public Information Officer for Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office. We will now begin our program. On behalf of the Irish Domestic Violence Center, we would like to thank you all for coming this evening. We will now begin our program with the presentation of colors and the Pledge of Allegiance by the Donaldsonville High School JROTC, followed by the National Anthem performed by the Dutchtown High School Band. Would you please stand?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I will now call on Lieutenant Joey Myers with the Sheriff's Office for a welcome.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Joey Myers with the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office. I currently serve as Lieutenant with the Domestic Violence Unit in Operation SAVE, Survivors and Victims Empowered. On behalf of the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office, Irish Domestic Violence Center, and their coordinated community response team, along with numerous sponsors, we are delighted to have you here to participate and share with our Take Back the Night. At this time, I noticed there was a couple special guests came in, some elected officials, Mayor Leroy Sullivan, thank you for coming, sir, and Chief Deputy Bobby Weber with the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office. If I've looked around the crowd and missed anybody, I apologize. You raise your hand, we'll make knowledge that you're here. But thank you for being here tonight, gentlemen. The Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office has a mission statement within our office. It is posted throughout our department all over the place. There's normally 5 statements that we go by for the Vision 2000 as our mission statement for the Sheriff's Office. Particularly, there is a line in there, one of the paragraphs, a simple little line that says, the perception by all citizens that we live in a safe community. It's a powerful statement. So many of you present serves to remind us on how domestic violence has become more noticeable, a bigger noticeable issue in the parish of Ascension, as well as across the world. Our mission is to take a stand against domestic violence in Ascension Parish and assist survivors and their families in the planning for a safe future to the best of our ability, regardless of race, creed, or circumstances. Everyone has the right to live in a home that is free of threats and violence. Once again, on behalf of the Coordinated Community Response Team, IRIS, Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office, and all domestic violence victims in which we all represent here tonight, we would like to thank each and every one of you for tonight's attendance. Also, I'd like to take a little brief moment and make recognition of the LaValle family being here tonight. We welcome them. And with that said, again, welcome to Take Back the Night. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant Myers. We will now have the Dynamics of Domestic Violence by Suzanne Hamilton of the Ascension Parish Counseling Center, followed by a musical selection by the Santa Maria High School Choir.
Good evening. I'm the director of Ascension Counseling Center. We're a department of Ascension Parish government. And I'm here to talk to you a little bit about some of the dynamics of domestic violence. And, you know, we talk about domestic violence every year, and it does include some of the things you always think about as violence, and it's the physical acts of things like hitting, slapping, pushing, pulling hair, choking, some of the physical things. But there are a lot of aspects of domestic violence that come before that. Often something smaller leads into the physical issues. And so we wanted to make sure that everybody is aware of some of those things that come before the physical violence, so that if you know someone who's in a situation where they're experiencing these things, that they can begin to recognize that they may be on the path to physical violence. And that includes things like somebody using coercions and threats, threatening to harm them, threatening to leave them, threatening to commit suicide if they leave, trying to threaten them to drop the charges, trying to make her do illegal things, using intimidation, so acts or gestures, smashing things, destroying your property, abusing your pets, displaying weapons on the table while you're yelling, emotional abuse such as putting her down, making a person feel bad about themselves, calling them names, using isolation, making sure that you're controlling everyone that she sees or everywhere you go. Some of the more drastic instances of that are that some men will physically lock their spouses in the house so that they can't get out during the day while they're at work, or they'll even put padlocks on the refrigerator so that they're controlling whether they're eating or not when they're at work. Controlling who they talk to, isolating so that you're not around family or friends anymore, so that family doesn't even know what's going on. Using economic abuse, that's controlling their income, not letting them work so that they don't have their own money, making her ask for money or giving her an allowance. A lot of times they'll give them like $50 for groceries for the entire week. They'll give them an allowance that really won't cover the expenses that they have. And then they'll be critical about how you're not making the money stretch as you should. Controlling the money, not letting them have any. Using the children using them, visits to harass them, threatening to take the children away, making the children take sides, and trying to encourage the children to tell the mother she's a bad mother. So all of these kind of things are not physically violent, but they are abusive, and they're part of the chain that leads into physical violence. And if you know anyone who's in this situation, then that might be, these are some things to share with them so that they recognize that they're in an abusive situation.
Thank you, choir. Our guest speaker for the evening is Chief Deputy Bobby Weber. Chief Weber is a 33-year veteran of the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office and a combat veteran with the 82nd Airborne Division during Operation Urgent Fury in Grenada. He spent the first 8 years of his law enforcement career as a patrol deputy and an additional 16 years serving as warden of our Corrections Division. Later, he was promoted to Chief of Criminal Operations and now holds the rank of Chief Criminal Deputy. In 1993, Chief Weber was selected as one of the original members of the department's Crisis Response Team, also known as SWAT. In 2007, he was selected to attend the prestigious FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia. He is married for 32 years to his high school sweetheart, Karen, and he is an active member of the East Ascension Rotary Club, American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, and Knights of Columbus St. Mark Council. He is passionate of all things military veterans, helping our veterans, and serving our veterans, especially our dwindling World War II veterans. Chief Deputy Bobby Weber.
Thank you, Allison. Ladies, that was beautiful. That was one of my favorite movies, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Oh, let's go down to the river and pray. I really enjoyed that. And that's hard to sing, so you're doing a really good job. Dutchtown Band, what a great job you did with the national anthem. I really appreciate that. That sounded wonderful. And to Donaldsonville with ROTC, I know you're out there somewhere. Thank y'all so much for presenting those colors. It's a wonderful thing to see our youth being involved in such a way. Again, Allison, thank you for inviting me to be here, and thank you for allowing me to share a few words with you. And Suzanne, thank you for those words. I know your office does so much to help out with domestic violence and so much to help out the parish. I want to tell you that we've seen the multitude of broken homes, living in constant fear, and a feeling of hopelessness and shame, and worse yet sometimes, the loss of life. All could be the end results of domestic violence. We have all heard the horrifying stories, right? We read the undeniable statistics. You can see them out on that poster board over there. And we've witnessed the pain and suffering of some of our family members, our relatives and close friends. But I want to tell you, not tonight. For tonight, we shall take back the night, and as it gets darker, we can look up under these heavenly stars and let the brilliant light shine upon us as we collectively fight against violence towards those who sometimes feel that they have no voice. I want to thank the Irish Domestic Violence Center and Take Back the Night Foundation for all the hard work that you do to end domestic violence, dating violence, sexual abuse. You have made some great strides, but as you would say, the march is far from over. I want to thank you for allowing a man of 54 years to come up here and say a few words tonight. I want to thank you for allowing a man with 33 years of law enforcement experience to share his thoughts with you, and for allowing a man who said "I do" 33 years ago to his high school sweetheart to express a man's love and respect for the women of our lives, particularly our mothers and our wives and our daughters. I'd like to introduce my wife, Karen. Karen, raise your hand over there. 33 years, met in East Ascension High School. Looking forward to the next 33. But I will tell you, for too long now, for way too long now, domestic violence has been seen as a woman's issue, with some good men helping along the way. Well, I dismissed that argument long ago, and I'm here to tell you tonight that domestic violence is a man's issue. It is absolutely a man's issue. Ladies, you have marched long, you have marched hard, you have carried the torch far and wide, and your burden has been heavy. While some good men have supported you, we tended to do it from the sidelines. We cheered you on because this was your issue. This was your call to action, not ours. Well, men, I'm telling you, it's time to get off the sideline. It's time to get in the game. Men, we need to stop watering down and dumbing down domestic violence. We need to take it serious. Just by illustration, this is how society can sometimes dumb down domestic violence, just by simple sentence structures, and we see it and we read it all the time. Here's a simple English sentence: John beat Mary. That's all it is to it. John beat Mary. But if we put it in passive voice, and you've seen this many times, we can say Mary was beaten by John. Now all of a sudden we change the focus on Mary. John's at the end of the sentence. Or we can simply say Mary was beaten. So now complete focus on Mary, and John has completely left the conversation. And what we call people that have been beaten, we call them battered. So we can say Mary was battered. And then we give Mary a whole new definition, a whole new identity in life. We say Mary is a battered woman. Forgot about John a long time ago. Poor old Mary, she's a battered woman. Then we said, what did she do? What did she say? What was she wearing? All classic examples of victim blaming. Well, I'm so proud of the training at the sheriff's office with our young deputies and with our veteran detectives when they investigate domestic violence. Our focus will always be on John beat Mary. When we investigate them things in domestic violence, there's always legitimate questions to ask, but we always remember it was John that beat Mary. And on the lighter side, as I said, I've been married for 33 years, and I'm glad to report to you tonight that there's only been one attempted domestic violence incident in my household. Just one. It must have been about 25 years ago, but I can remember it like it was yesterday. Me and my wife, we lived in a very small house. We had a bedroom, a living room, and a kitchen. No hallways between them. I'm talking bedroom, living room, and kitchen. And I was a young patrolman at the time and worked a day shift, so I would go to bed early. And I went to bed early one night, and my wife, she stayed up and watched TV in the living room. And my wife, she loves cats. Me, not so much. Well, somehow, our cat got a hold to a peppermint wrapper, was playing with it on the floor in the bedroom where I was trying to go to sleep, and I had no idea how loud a peppermint wrapper could be when a cat is just pawing on it and jumping on it and rolling around with it. And the cat must have thought it was a brand new toy or something, but the cat was having a grand time with that peppermint wrapper. But I had had enough. So I flung those covers off of me, I picked up the cat, and I very, very gently tossed the cat towards the kitchen. Well, my wife, when she seen that out of the corner of her eye, when she seen that cat kind of flying through the living room into the kitchen, she came unglued. She jumped up and she marched into that bedroom, got right in my face, and she chest butted me. You know how you do that sometimes? You just chest butt somebody? And she said, "Don't you ever, ever, never, ever, ever think about taking my cat and throwing my cat again." Well, I'm a man of the house, and I wasn't about to take much of that. So what I did, I threw my hands up, and in a loud voice, I said, "Baby, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." I started making up all kind of excuses. Okay, "Baby, I didn't know the cat was so light. Baby, I didn't know a cat could fly." But the moral of the situation, men, and the moral of the story, men, is that we don't have to win every argument. We don't have to win every argument when it comes to family. Well, by the way, I did get a good night's sleep, and that cat didn't come back in the bedroom for quite a while after that. But why did John beat Mary? Why is domestic violence still a big problem in the United States and all over the world? One of the powerful roles that men can play is that we can say things sometimes that a woman can't. Or better yet, we could be heard saying things that sometimes a woman can't be heard saying. And I know that in itself sounds sexist, but I'm telling you that's true. We need more men with strength. We need more men with courage to stand up with women and not against them. One of the most profound things that Dr. Martin Luther King said was, I quote, "In the end, what will hurt the most is not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends." I'm going to say that again. He said, in the end, what will hurt the most is not the words of our enemy, but the silence of our friends. And there has been a great deal of silence in our male culture about male violence against women. And all I'm trying to say here tonight is we need to break that silence. We need more men to do that. Now, I'll tell you that it's easier said than done. I'm telling you, it's hard for a man to challenge a man in our male culture. And we don't have to look back very far, do we, to understand this, right? Does Harvey Weinstein ring a bell to you? Now, how many A-list actors in Hollywood knew about his deviant, abusive behavior towards women and remained silent? Women have been complaining about it for years. But the A-list actors, where are they? Where are you, men? Even today, they're hiding. They knew about it, but they would never say anything about it because it's not easy for men to challenge men in our male culture. A paradigm shift has to happen, and it has to take place. And we have to know that it's not only a man's issue, it's also a leadership issue with men. Because ultimately, the responsibility for taking a stand on these issues should never fall on the shoulders of little boys or teenagers or men in high school or men in college. The responsibility of this should fall on adult men who have power and authority. Because when a man speaks up in a peer culture, when he challenges people, when he interrupts, he really is being a leader. But on a big scale, we need more adult men who have that power, who have that authority to start prioritizing these issues. And we just haven't seen that much lately, have we? Well, about 3 years ago, I will tell you that that paradigm shift has changed in your sheriff's office. And working with great friends like Irish Domestic Violence, our district attorney's office, judges, whoever would listen. And I'd like to recognize Judge Pat Douglas with us tonight, who does all of our TROs and does all of our protective orders. She's been a great help. And she has been a great help when we started to restructure our domestic violence program. We completely wrote the book on our response to domestic violence, tracking cases from our first responder all the way through adjudication. Our victim services was enhanced greatly with the help of our friends like ours. This is the type of leadership that men need to demonstrate, because after all, domestic violence is a man issue also. I know there are so many men out there who care deeply about this issue, but caring deeply is not enough. We need more men with guts. We need more men with courage, with the strength, and with the moral integrity to break our complicit silence and challenge each other to stand up with women and not against them. And just by the way, we owe it to women. There's no doubt about that. But we also owe it to our sons. When you have a choice, and we have a choice, we have an opportunity and we have a responsibility as well. And I just hope that going forward, men and women working together can begin that change, so our future generations won't have the level of tragedy that we deal with on a daily basis today. And I think together we can do this. And I thank you so much for allowing me to have a few words with you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Deputy Weber. We will now have the lighting of the candles by the East Ascension High School Interact Club, and then a musical selection by the Dutchtown High School Band.
Tonight, we would like to take a minute to acknowledge the people who are remembering and honoring. We will light 10 candles for women and others affected by violent crimes. The first 4 candles include the women, children, and men in our community that we know who are survivors of rape and battering. This includes surviving children and other members who are affected by the domestic violence.
The first purple candle is for battered women and their children who have lived in our emergency shelter in the past year because were not safe at home. The next purple candle is for women and men who have contacted Iris Domestic Violence Center for help this year, needing and receiving counseling, court advocacy, legal representation, support groups, financial assistance, and safety planning.
The next purple candle represents battered women who are incarcerated at the State Women Prison in St. Gabriel and the women who have signed up to attend educational support groups because of their history of domestic violence.
We light the red candle for the women in our area who have been raped since October of last year. We light the next 5 candles in remembrance of the women, men, and children in our community who did not survive domestic violence and rape.
The first white candle is in remembrance of the victims of domestic violence who died at the hand of their inmate partner during the past 12 months and those who were murdered as a result of domestic violence. The next white candle is in remembrance of the children in our state who were murdered as a result of domestic violence.
We light a blue candle for the teens who have been murdered by their intimate partners and for the other teens who are in abusive, intimate relationships. We light a yellow candle for those who are murdered by their girlfriend or boyfriend and the unknown number of men and women who are the victims of the same-sex violence or hate crimes.
We light the next white candle in remembrance of all the women who have been murdered and or missing and their murders/disappearances are still unsolved. We light a purple candle for all others who have been raped or battered.
We will now have Remember Me by our coordinated community response team members.
These are a list of domestic violence victims from September of 2016 through September of 2017. Coretta Davis Sparks, Alana L. Montalvo, Delish Ivy Turner, Valerie Dowden Wells, Linda Williams, Raven Veal, unborn child, April Peck, Doris Bailey, Pakaya Hooker, Terriana Davis, Tangela Dedeje,
Raynell Lockett Richard, Asha Davis, Robin Hale, Simone Veal, unborn child, April Bruley.
Katrina Broussard, Julianne McQuillans, Shelley Nixon Waller, Katrina Stevens, Cleveland Gillott Jr.,
Melvin Peterson, Lauren Elizabeth Guidry,
Amanda Corsovas, Jessica Dunbar, Case Paul DeBuy,
Lashana Ward Johnson, Jennifer McGee, Letitia Reams, Monique Maxey, Sarah Hernandez.
Shakina Hampton, Alicia Dixon, Kamika Brantley, Angelica Hope Leroy, an unborn child.
You may be seated. We will now have community expressions. We will have Ken Dawson with Ascension Parish Government, followed by City of Gonzales Mayor Barney Arsenault and City of Donaldsonville Mayor Leroy Sullivan.
Well, good evening, everyone. On behalf of President Kenny Matassa, who supports an organization that would stand firm against domestic violence, and we have Suzanne Hamilton, who does a wonderful job of running an office that provides services in any way that's necessary. Colonel Rebel talked about the need for men to stand up and to do what's necessary to protect their homes and to protect their families. There's so little of that. And it hurts my heart to hear the names of the people that were read tonight and to hear the names of unborn children who didn't even see or have an opportunity for life. There was a book I read a long time ago, and it was called Man of Steel and Velvet. And what it talked about was how a man is supposed to stand having a support structure that was steel, but it was to be covered with velvet, so that when his wife would come to him and caress him, she would feel the softness of the velvet, but when she was squeezed, she knew that that was a steel of support. Never was that steel should have been used in any way to harm her. Never should be used in any way to down her or to talk against her. Never to be used to degrade the situation of a child, a son or daughter, but to always be there to support and to know that the loving, caressing arms of a man will be there when needed, but also the strong support that was needed in the family at any time. So again, on behalf of Ascension Parish Council, and President Kenny Matassa, we're here for you in any way possible, and we'll be there for you in any way possible. And we continue to support an organization who will stand firm for family. God bless you, and our prayers are always with you.
All right, Ken, thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, great to be here with you tonight. Not always good to come to an event like this. Every year, I start off by saying, I wish we didn't see as many signs as we see out here. But every year, we still continue to see them. It takes the support of every one of us here tonight to do what we can to help the people that can't help themselves. Folks, I know, and you know, that not everyone has the ability to speak up that's being abused. That's where we come in. Me, you, all of us here tonight. We have to speak up for the ones that can't speak up. It's a sad situation, no matter how you look at it. But folks, we can do better. We can all do better, and we need to do better. This is way too many signs that we're seeing here tonight in our community. Do what you can to help these folks. We have wonderful law enforcement with the Ascension Parish Sheriff Department. We have wonderful law enforcement with the Gonzales Police Department. Their people are trained to help and to talk to victims, as well as IRIS. You have a network there that people can call and get whatever information they need for assistance. Do that. Help the ones that can't be helped. Ladies and gentlemen, to tell you that we've got support, I'm so happy to tell you that we got 4 of our city councilmen that are here tonight. Appreciate you guys showing up, as well as our chief of police, as well as our fire chief and our CAO that's here tonight. I thank you all for coming and show your support as well. Folks, let's do what we can to try to stifle these numbers that we see here tonight. Thank you.
I am humbled to be a part of such a great program. Thanks for the invite. But at the same time, I'm saddened as I listened to the names that were called, and there were names that of people that I personally know. You know, whenever I'm a part of any type of program and taps is played, it saddens my heart. But I just want to say to the listening audience that we're here to take back the night. But I want to tell you, not only can we take back the night, but we can take back our rights, we can take back our city, we can take back our parish, we can take back our state. For just a little while, I want to tell you what happened in the last 24 hours. Me being the mayor of the city of Donaldsonville, I get all kind of calls to help people. On yesterday, I received a call from a man that is I hold in high esteem. His son was in jail, and he wanted me to help. And when I looked at, called to get all of the facts, his son was in there for strangling a young lady. I called him and told him that there was nothing that I could do to help because of the severity of what had happened. Today in my office, I had a young lady to come and visit me who called the name of one of my cousins, and she said, he said that he's your cousin. I said, that's right. And she started telling me that he was in jail, and he was in jail because she said, well, he's in jail for strangling me, but he didn't strangle me. I said, well, who said he strangled? Well, I did. So I had to tell this young lady who also had her son with her, and I'm watching her, but I'm paying more attention to her son because his facial expression said it all. And finally, I told the young lady, I said, look, cousin or no cousin, let him stay where he is. She hung up the phone with him, and he kept calling back, and I said, you need to tell him, stop wasting our dime by calling from the jail, wanting you to get him out. I said all that to say that there's a problem that's going on in our community. And this problem is growing because as you look, they say that the statistics show that 1 in every 4 women is a victim of violent abuse. And 1 in every 7 men are a victim of violent abuse. If it's 1 in 10, it's too many. If it's 1 in 20, it's too many. We need to stand until it stops. I will close by saying this to the young people of Dutch Shanghai, to the young people of Santa Marta, to the young people of East Ascension, and the young people of Donaldsonville High. Speak up, speak out, speak loud, and speak until someone hear you. Parents, listen to your children, and we can take back our children. Thank you, and may God bless you.
I would now like to recognize our coordinated community response team members who's responsible for tonight's event. Amy Onksley is our Iris Outreach Coordinator. Suzanne Hamilton. Pam Richardson. Josette Guillory. Aaron Tyre. Charlotte Johnson. Joey Myers. Patricia Douglas. Ashley Fuller, and myself. We will now have another selection by the Santa Maria High School Choir, followed with closing remarks by Executive Director for Iris Domestic Violence Center, Mr. John Price.
Before we bring up my very fearless and dedicated leader, Mr. John Price, I'd like to bring up two ladies, Shelley and Olivia from Dutchtown High School. They're just going to say a word.
Good evening. I'm Shelley Kleinpeter. I'm the president of Griffin's Fighting Gender Inequality at Dutchtown High, and this is our vice president, Olivia Francois, and we have some members in the audience. Griffin's Fighting Gender Inequality was founded by a group of Dutchtown High students with the intention of empowering women in our school, community, and world. One way we strive to do this in our community is by working with the Iris Domestic Violence Center in Baton Rouge, by volunteering and helping in any way we can. On behalf of all of our members, we would like to present them with this $500 check to help empower, support, and give victims of domestic violence a voice in Baton Rouge. Thank you.
Now I'd like to bring up the Executive Director of Iris Domestic Violence Center, Mr. John J. Price.
Thank you, Amy. You know, the toughest part about being the last speaker is, especially in a night like this with the dignitaries and the public officials that we've had here tonight, is they've taken all the best things that I was going to say. I could have sworn Bobby Weber must have found my notes from yesterday that I made, because he quoted the same things that I was going to say about Martin Luther King. And I think it's very important, maybe even worth repeating, because it's not the sharp words of our critics, it's the silence of our friends. I've been the executive director at the Iris Domestic Violence Center for 5 months. I've changed in those 5 months. The experiences that I've had there have impacted me far more profoundly than I would have ever realized. Domestic violence is a life and death struggle. In Louisiana, we are twice the national average for a woman's likelihood of being murdered by a man, most often someone she knows. We are third in the nation. Domestic violence is a confounding and complex issue. It is not a respecter of any race, color, creed, religion, education, or economic status. 1 in 4 women will be a victim of domestic violence. 1 in 3 children will be impacted by domestic violence. The Iris Domestic Violence Center is the largest nonprofit in Louisiana that's dedicated to ending domestic abuse and relationship violence. We are a proud member of the Louisiana Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and I know that we have some representatives from LCADV here. And that is the federally designated coalition of shelters, non-resident agencies, and individuals who are working to end domestic abuse and relationship violence. Every day we go to work, we run a 24/7 crisis line. We run a 24/7 safe house shelter. We provide legal services to any individual in our 7 parish service area who files for a restraining order against an abuser. And we spend and dedicate the majority of our time trying to provide public information and education on the problem of domestic violence. I am particularly, personally, engaged in trying to increase and expand that education program to the preventive side. The targeted population of women 16 to 34, they are most likely to be victims of domestic abuse. So young women in high school, just out of high school, in college, they're the ones who are being targeted. They're most likely to be a victim of domestic violence. Nobody enters into a relationship with domestic violence. They wake up in one. And it's our job to carry that fight throughout our area to make sure that no woman feels threatened, abused, endangered by an abuser. That fight is every day. It's important that we have events like this, public events, events that allow individuals in a domestic abuse or relationship that's marked by violence to understand that there are people who care. All of you here care, and we need to carry that message out among the community. I am so proud of what's happened here tonight and the people that are here. I'm proud of the public officials who have been here, the law enforcement, the elected officials, your Ascension Parish government, the judicial process here, prosecutors. You have a great community in Ascension Parish, and we're proud that you have partnered with IRIS and are working with us to help end domestic violence. We'll continue that struggle. Hopefully there won't be as many signs, and maybe someday we'll be able to truly take back the night. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate your support.